The voice in your ears is Perfect Pervis, and this is the off season. Welcome to the podcast. Today, we're going to talk about how sports, and specifically American football, is not just a game. First off, before we get into it, I got a couple of guys here who want to introduce themselves and let you know who they are before we start talking about the topics. So, guys, what I want you to do is I want you to introduce your name, where you're from, where you're currently located, how you're involved with anything you want to shout out right now, and what you want to get accomplished by being on this podcast. Adam, I'll let you go first.
My name is Adam Coronado. I'm from Oxnard, California. I'm currently in Erding, Germany. And right now, I would just put out my sports brand with my brother, Liberachi Sports. And other than that, right now, I'm just putting out my coaching and getting everything together as far as the brand, getting myself out there, my name out there, and, linking up with other guys like you and Justin. I already know Durante and, coming up all together as one.
All right, Justin.
All right, so my name is Justin. I'm currently from Texas. Right now, I'm in Texas actually for a little bit before I head back out to Europe in a few months. My main accomplishment right now is just kind of inspiring others to kind of reach their goal and their dreams, because a lot of people have self-doubt these days, and they always listen to like that little voice in their ear saying they can't. So with me, my platform is trying to show people and give the inspiration that they can do the things they want to, actually put their mind to it and actually believe they can achieve.
What about you, Durante?
My name is Durante Smith. I'm currently in Kitzingen, Germany, like 10, 15 minutes outside of Würzburg, Germany. I am in between teams as we currently speak, and I am a certified personal trainer and a strength and conditioning coach. I'm going to put my company out there, 211 Performance. If you want to get bigger, faster, stronger, hit me up. And I just want to be able to help people and talk to guys just like you about what it is playing football outside of America and how it is more than just football.
Yeah. All right. So I think everybody done the introductions. I don't usually do an introduction, but the purpose of this podcast is so that the people that are connected with me have another platform, whether that be through sports or just people that I know in general. And everyone who's on this show, just so you know, they have the Perfect Purpose cosign, which means if you trust me, you can trust them. I'm not putting no fuckboys on this show. I'm only putting people that I believe in and that can give you value by listening to them on this podcast. So let's just hop into it, guys. The topic today is it's not just a game. Sports versus life stuff. I'll start it off, obviously, but the general topic is that sports is not just a hobby. If you've been in Europe, you notice that the sports culture is different than in the United States. In the United States, playing sports is, that's something you have to do, and it's like taken very seriously by people who both play and who don't play the sport. While in other places in the world, sports can be considered, less than important when it comes to, I got a birthday party to go to, or do I go to practice? I know for sure this group of people on this show right now, that's easy. You take your ass to practice. You don't go to a birthday party. But there's 7 billion people in the world, and about 6 billion of them, they would actually go to the birthday party. So I want to hear you guys' ideas of like, how do you feel about the fact that sports is more than just a game regarding sports versus your regular life commitments and responsibilities? Adam, I'll let you hit on it first.
I think as far as, like you said, is making sure it's a high responsibility. I'm looking at it as a new way this year because I'm coaching. I'm still playing, but I'm at the moment coaching. Excuse me. And I think it's more of just explaining to the guys why it's more important and showing them why, instead of missing practice or what happens when we miss days and we lose time or when people don't come because of, whatever. So I think, showing them and explaining to them, like, the culture of it, the real culture of it. And I think a lot of them are getting it now because, there's new leagues out there like the ELF and all that that's demanding all that stuff. So now it's no longer just a hobby. But, to some it's still just a hobby. So I think just getting it out there more to them and explaining it more to them on the reason why it is.
What are some of your thoughts, Justin?
Yeah, so kind of piggyback off the add-on. So like kind of with me when I was in France for a little bit, that was like the biggest like issue because we have guys that'll call off for practice because they want to go drink with their friends or like just attend a party or something. And it's like we always had that communication with each other because just like with me being there as an American, I'm there to like, play football. I'm here to get the team better. And it's like we can't get better if you're not showing up. So that's kind of like a big issue with that. But I just feel like for us, it's like as Americans, it's just kind of just slowly like teaching them and kind of explaining it about like how football could like help us. Not only like just on the field, but like with life situations, like handling adversity and things like that. So that's kind of like my perspective and take on it.
What about you, Durante? What's your opening take on it?
Got to piggyback off of what everybody else has said.
Piggyback rides.
This is the fuck being the last person, but no, everybody said the exact same thing, and it hits the nail on the head. Being as when I was in Brazil, and I would show up to practice, and there would be like 16 people there, but then come to the game, everybody wanted to play, and we got a whole roster of 50. Then like you just see the differences, and then here in Europe it's just about the same. And like Justin said, like we're there to try to elevate the culture and the knowledge of the game, and to be able to do that, I mean, you kind of need to go to practice. You don't learn anything if you're not there. So I feel like that is one of the main things that we do. And then of course, the camaraderie of being around your teammates. Like, we get better at practice, but then you also trust the man that's next to you, or female, depending on the sport that you're playing, when you're overseas. And if you don't have that camaraderie and the trust, it's not going to just gel together when the lights are on and it's game time.
Yeah, I get what all you guys are saying, and I'm not gonna piggyback. I'm gonna shift focus. I think when we're talking about, sports versus life stuff and it being a hobby in other countries outside the United States, one thing that I'm adamant about is time. You cannot get time back. What you do with your time is important because you have limited time on this earth. And it's interesting that if someone decides to play a hobby, if I decide that American football is a hobby for me, that's fine. But if it is a hobby, most likely it's something I'm doing in my free time, and I'm paying to do that in my free time. Now, what we don't get a lot of people telling us, especially as Americans, is that they don't care about their free time. Because I find that hard to believe. Me personally, if I have a Saturday off and I pay to go watch a movie, and then I don't go watch the movie, even though it was my Saturday off. That was what I wanted to do on that Saturday off, and now I don't go watch it. I already bought the tickets. I'm going to be pissed off at myself. Not at the movie theater for showing it at a time that I decided to do something else, but I'm going to be pissed off at myself because I wasted my own time. And that's how it is when you decide to play a sport and you say, okay, I've committed to it, but I'm not going to commit the way that I said from the beginning. And then you also are not valuing your time as well as other people's time. And that's where I feel disrespect. And if you don't feel that same disrespect, then you really don't need to be doing this sport at all as a hobby or a profession. Is that if I say I'm going to be somewhere and then I don't show up, and there's 40-something other guys who are expecting me to show up, and then I don't show up, I'm basically saying fuck you and your time. Like, I don't care about your time as well as I don't care about my free time. I find that to be the utmost disrespect, and that's the type of stuff I'll slap somebody for, which is one reason why you don't see me coaching and playing football right now, guys, because I can't handle that type of disrespect that's going on in the world. But enough of my rant, just moving on some of the actual solutions of how we can incorporate a little bit more of what we do in the States, football culturized, into other places in the world. What are some ideas that you guys have of how we can, close that gap of what I consider people wasting other people's time, and culturally people just not committing to something that they consider a hobby? Durante, what is something that you think would be a good solution?
I believe a good solution for that is basically still, hold people accountable.
But how so? How so? Let's get into the meat of it.
All right. So the past 3 years, I've been with the Unicorns, and I saw a big shift and difference from being with all the other teams that I played with before, and they were just like, "Oh, okay, you can't come to practice on this day. Well, just know you ain't finna see the field. You're not finna see no reps."
All right.
Thank you for your 150 euros.
I'm gonna cut you off. I'm gonna cut you off, Durante, because we're gonna make this conversation. What about them teams that don't have enough players? Like that's a great thing if you have a team that you can say if you don't come, you don't play. But then you have teams that are smaller where you don't come, you don't play, but we need you because we don't have enough players. So I need an overall solution. Like I need that big solution because most of the teams in Europe aren't at the level of GFL, ELF, or even GFL, ELF, or AFL teams. And I don't want to, alienate those larger divisions, but we all know there's a lot of good GFL2 regional teams in Germany, and then almost every other country is more of a regional team level, and those are huge issues. We're hitting the big issues. How do we improve those guys and make them more accountable? I like accountability, but how can we do that on a scale that what if we don't have enough players? How do we get them to be accountable in that way?
I feel like this is going to make it even more broader, but I feel like that starts at the top.
Okay.
That starts at of the smaller teams and the regional teams. That starts at the top. Like you can't be like, all right, I have some money, I got a couple friends, we're gonna start a team. Like the head man in charge got to be accountable because if he's not setting that example, and everybody can take off of that. But if that guy's not setting that example, that's gonna trickle down to the staff, and then the coaches are gonna be like, well, I mean, we only got 15 people, so we just got to work with it. It's like, go out there, find more people that are going to be dedicated. Because everywhere you go, there's people. You have people that are interested. You have people that aren't interested. But all it takes is somebody at the top being 100% committed to their craft, and, that's contagious. So I feel like, it starts at the top. It has a whole lot of different branches off into other things, but the biggest thing, it will be at the top. You have other things where you can bring money into it to add some incentive. But then also at the same time, we are still not in America to where people are like, well, such and such is having a wedding today. Fuck y'all, I'm out.
Yeah. There's only so much money that can be thrown into a hobby type of sport. Like it's not the NFL. It's not going to make enough revenue that you can get tons of sponsors all the time as well. There's only so much money that can be spent.
So I have a question. So how would you do it? Say, for example, if a team be like, well, we always run it this way, and we're not going to change it because though it's been like this. Like, so how do you kind of like deal with that situation of how to kind of like hold the team accountable, like getting people to show up to practice and things like that? That makes sense.
Yeah, who you asking, Justin? You asking me or Durante?
Oh, this is just open, like, for whoever wants to answer it.
Okay. I mean, I can answer everything, guys, but I'm trying to give y'all an opportunity. So you let me know if you got something to say. Say it.
I can answer some. So right now I'm doing the off season as the head coach here in Airding, and we bumped the practices from 2 days a week with a 3-day week. Third day being optional, and like everything, you guys all hit it on the head with everything. But, to answer Justin's question was, what we did was when we ask a player if they're going to be here, like today, per se, we got practice after this podcast. I got to go to practice. So if a player told me today, hey, coach, I'm going to be at practice today, and say he doesn't come, he got to put money into the beer can, into our beer jug.
Yeah, that's cool.
But let me spin off this, though. My main thing is, on this whole Europe thing, like Pervis said, it's not always being money thrown around. We're not the NFL, but teams need to decide: are we going to be a beer team, or are we going to play football? Are we
Yes, you hit it. That's it, Adam, right there.
Are we going to just have fun and have this be a hobby, and we just going to chill, drink beer? Who cares if we win or lose? We're just having fun. Or are we trying to go win and be the big dog and trying to move up? If we're a lower league team, are we trying to move up? If we're a GFL 1 team, what are we trying to do? We didn't make playoffs in years, so what are we trying to make the playoffs? What are we trying to do? And I think that's where a lot of imports get lost at, in the wish-wash. And, for me, that was one thing I changed. If a player tells us, if they come in and they don't, they got to throw money in the bank. So that's working for us right now, but I'm always tweaking it. This is my first time coaching, so that was just an idea. But for me, on that topic, what we're talking about, I think it starts at the top, like Durante said, and I think it's teams deciding: are we gonna be a beer team, or are we gonna win some games and move forward with this stuff and try to be a real organization?
I wanna expand on what Adam was talking about, because what Durante said was, the organization, you got to start from the top, and that's 100% right. And then what Adam did was he added that next element, which is really the culture of the team. Are we a team that is built on, winning? If you want to be a winning team, you got to do certain things, certain ways. You got to have a workout program. You got to have people committed in the off season. Or are we a beer league team? Are we just out here having a good time? And then I'm going to take it all the way back to my main point is don't waste nobody's time. I don't care if it is a beer league. I played slow pitch softball in the States for years, and we got drunk at every game. But I tell you this much, every Tuesday and Thursday, our asses were out there. Only time people weren't there was when they were actually like giving birth to kids and stuff. But other than that, we were out there. We might not have won nothing. Actually, I don't want a lot of y'all. I win a lot of times. But it wasn't about winning. It was about going out, having a good time, but we also consistently did it. That's one thing that I understand. These teams are like, well, football's fun. I just want to play it for fun. And that is respectable. But also you are using your and other people's free time. So you have to be accountable, which, like Durante said, goes back to the head of the organization. Even if it's just a team trying to have a good time, there still needs to be accountability at every level. And I think those are really good ideas for making sports culture a little more specific. I'm not a expert in Germany, but I can speak on, the Nordic countries, Sweden and Finland specifically, where sports culture is very organized here, but also it's a hobby sport. But sports in general are organized here. People don't really have in and out of sports, except for American football. There's one thing that happens a lot of time. My wife coaches basketball in Finland, so I compare a lot to what I see her do. She coaches kids basketball, and they practice 4 days a week all year, except for like a month and a half in the summer because they have off-season practices. And I'm like, that's a lot of sports for a kid. Me as an American, when I played Little League, we had 2 practices a week. But these kids are doing 4 a week, and they're playing basketball. While the football teams in a similar country like Finland only practice once or twice a week, and you can't get people to come during the season. But they come from a culture where people are accustomed to practicing 4 times a week for sports. So the biggest thing that really, I'm still going back to people wasting people's time, is that because the sport is not considered, a top level sport like the other sports that have been done certain ways and for so long, people have decided that we can do them different for American football. We need to make sure that culture doesn't continue. Going back to what Justin was saying, I feel like I'm all over the place because I'm trying to be a little bit consistent on my points. But back to what Justin had said about, if teams are like, this is how we always do it and this is how we've been doing it. Look at what works and then look at what doesn't work. Football is a sport. As a matter of fact, all sports are copycat sports. You find what someone does well, and you do that same thing. And if you're doing the same thing as someone else, and you're not having the same results, you're not doing it the way that they are. Like, that's just what it is. People are like, oh, we have 3 practices a week, and that's what the good teams have. But all their players come. All your players don't come. You need to find out how they get their players to come. It's not that you need 3 practices. Some teams only need 2 practices, but they get so much done in those 2 practices that they're better prepared than a team that practices 4 times a week. And that's okay to do it different ways, but you need to find out what works for your organization. And a lot of teams aren't willing to adjust because they think that they know it and they haven't proven that they know it. Now, if your way works, you have one of the best teams, best retention rates, and you do things very unorthodox, no one's going to bat an eye at you. But if you're doing things that everyone else is doing and you're not having the same success, then you're being ignorant to the fact that what you're doing isn't actually what they're doing. It's similar to when these coaches go on YouTube or go online and see plays and playbooks and they see them drawn up but don't know the actual philosophy behind them and then try to implement them and wonder why they don't work. See how I segued that from culture to actual X's and O's? Yeah, I can do that all day. So that's that's something that I think that we got to do solution wise is make sure that teams are being more than just sticking to what they know or what they think is right and doing what's actually right for their situations. Like Durante said at the beginning, Schwabers Hall is a different team than, say, I want to name a small team in like Germany or something. I don't know the team names, but it's a different team than the team you left to go to Schwabers Hall. Like those two levels, they have to do things differently. But if they don't recognize that, then nothing gets changed. And that's the whole deal about solutions, that you have to recognize when you need change. And matter of fact, that's going to bring me to my next question. And I'm leaving this open for anyone who wants to answer it, is how can a sports team figure out what they need to do to become a more consistent team? Like what is a way we can figure out that we need to do this or do that? You guys got any answers for me on that?
Well, once again, I can just tell you what I had did. So I think they need to sit down with everybody. So whoever's, say it's an American head coach at the time, I think you need to sit down with the head coach, whoever the head coach is, or if that's the head coach per se. He needs to sit down with whoever's in charge, everybody in charge. I think they need to figure out what's the biggest problem, pretty much pros and cons of the club, of, ticket sales, food, everything in general. And then we go a little deeper, and then this where, knowing American football comes in, is we'll grade our groups, quarterback, running backs, and if teams got Fs, say groups got Fs, say we gave up 40 sacks, we know the O-line's an F, so what do we need to work on is definitely the O-line, or we need a new O-line coach, or, whatever the case may be, a new quarterback coach. We need to get an import aid for their quarterback, things like that. I think sitting down, figuring out the real problems, no excuses, no, Abba, nothing, just cold hard facts, and then go from there and find a plan. But I think that, I don't know, from there.
Else?
Yeah, I mean, I feel that it's basically, you got to go in, like Adam said, you got to go in with the heads, come up with your philosophy. Then you get the board together and you figure out exactly what you want to be as an organization. Mm-hmm. Then, like as he said, they grade people, and which is the biggest thing is constant feedback. With almost anything that you do with any team, it's constant feedback. Because then with that feedback, you know what you can adjust on, what is good, what isn't good, what needs to be improved. Like Adam said, like just constant feedback. And being here in Europe, that's where we kind of lack. Well, not we. That's where the culture kind of lacks, because it goes back to what Justin said. It was just like, well, we always do it this way. And they're comfortable without, even with the feedback, they're comfortable. They're just like, oh, well, this is what it is. What it is. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So you need.
Can I jump in here real quick with a little anecdote? Yeah. Like, I love whenever you talk to like a team or somebody, like someone related to team, you're like, you try to give them an idea of like, if you did this and this, you could do that, and they respond, yeah, but that doesn't work here. Like they're quick to shoot you down. And guys, I'm in Finland mostly, so in Finland, a lot of things, when people come with new ideas and, hey, maybe try this or try this, we get the quickest answer we get is, yeah, but you can't do that in Finland. Yeah, the Helsinki team can do that, but you can't do that in a different city. Or you can't do that because we don't have enough players. And people are so quick to just accept it. And just
a lot of it's their confidence, bro.
Yeah.
Even out here in Germany, it's, I was talking to some guys, even in the past, like about moving up GFL 1, having opportunity. And it's like, I don't think I can do it. And it's like, you'll never know until you go out there and do it. You practice with these guys. You played against half these guys already your whole life. There's no difference. The camera going to be in front of you. That's really the only difference. But I think it's mainly the confidence, and just knowing, like, I can do this. I can play with these dudes, or I'm just going to go out there and go try. And, you can't even get them to do that. But if you can build their confidence, I think that's a big thing as well.
And that's going to lead me to another question, because I love that talking about that confidence. How can we do that? Like, what are some ideas? Like, how do you get guys to go from being, okay, I'm doing this, but I don't expect to do much, to, I'm going to be great at this. This is what I do. Like, what are some things you guys do to, build that confidence in your players?
I can kind of start it off. So when I was in Spain a little bit, they wasn't really like used to winning at the time, but they especially like rising up to the challenge now. But when I was there, it was kind of like they didn't really have that leadership at all from anybody. And then being the first American, I kind of brought that leadership to them. And there's like a lot of guys with the confidence, like guys dropping balls in practice and they're just getting their heads real easy. So for me, I had to slowly like build that relationship with them and then kind of just talk them up, kind of tell them like, hey, like you'll get it the next time. And then too, just like doing different drills where they kind of figure it out for themselves, which they slowly get that confidence, and then the game, that's when it starts to show. So I think really just kind of constantly like bringing that positive attitude towards them and kind of just build that relationship as soon as possible and be able to relate with that player. I think that kind of helps a lot with their confidence on the field.
Yeah, that's basically exactly what I do, and even sometimes it stretches even further with me, where I look at some teammates and they're just like, oh, I can't do that. I'm like, look at, like, for example, we had some players on our team this year, and you have guys on YouTube or the U19, and they're looking up like, oh man, I could never play like him. And I'm like, the fuck out of here! He put his pants on just like you do.
Yep.
Why can't you do that?
Yep.
Like that ain't stopping you from doing anything. Oh, he has his muscles, bro. Go to the gym. Get you a workout plan. Get you a meal plan. Stay consistent. Like anything somebody else can do, you can do. So don't get in your way if the sky's the limit. You want to go do it? Go do it. And so that's usually what I do with a lot of the people out here that I know. A couple guys that were on the team with me 2 years ago, they in the L starting, and boy, it was ass. And now they in the L starting. So it's just like certain things like that. Like I was constantly in their ears. They coming out to run around with me and stuff. They dropping passes. They couldn't even backpedal. And now they are L all-star starting. It's just like, yo, you have that confidence. Believe in yourself, because ain't nobody else gonna believe in yourself if you don't.
I'll throw in my little tidbit, because I feel like, you guys, y'all are, in the thick of it, and definitely like working with your teams, are probably on a better, one-on-one relationship with players and team members. For me, one interesting thing about confidence, because I have it. Like, it is what it is. But I've always found it difficult to, transfer the confidence. But I do believe that one thing that breeds confidence is competition. I think that a lot of times, and now I'm talking about more like younger players, because older players, it's hard to, get that mentality to change. If you're a 25-year-old man, your confidence is pretty much set. Like, you kind of know, okay, if I'm kind of good, okay, I roll. If I'm not, I understand the situation. Well, you have a lot of, 19, 20-year-olds who are still finding themselves, so their confidence can be, boosted or shaken really easily based on their surroundings and their environment. And when it comes to football, a lot of times we get, guys who are really good but on a bad team. So if they're good but they're on a bad team, they have to do everything for their team. And even if they're really good, you can't tell because the team isn't good. So their confidence stays low, even though it should be higher. Or the confidence might be too high because they're better than everybody on a shit team, which don't mean anything. And then those guys don't want to go and compete against someone else. Just to throw in more anecdotes, because this is what we're doing on the show, is, letting you know our experiences and why we do some things, is that here in Finland, national teams is a huge thing. Got to be on the national team and stuff like that. And I'm not going to knock it on this episode, but I know kids and young players. I'm not really talking adults because it's just so much randomness in that. But I'm talking, the the youth is our future. Between 17 and 24, those are that's how we continue the sport to grow. And in that age group is a lot of you got U17, U19, and obviously men's national teams. And a lot of those players, the better players make the teams, and they're usually the best player on a team where they don't have to like compete, and then they get to compete against some international competitions a couple times a year. But other than that, that's it. Like when they go back to their club teams, they're Big Dick Harry. They don't have to worry about anything. If they don't go to practice, they don't go to practice. They're better than everybody. You can't put them on the bench type stuff. And then you call those kids out and say, hey, I need you to come here and you're going to lose. But I want you to compete so you can get better. They're like, I don't know. And then those are the guys that could have become great for the men's team, but because they settled at an early age, they just become average players later on in life. And that's what brings down the culture overall of the confidence. Because if the best players don't want to compete, what's happening to someone who's not the best? He's also afraid to compete. You want your ones going against ones, not your ones going against threes, but the threes got to have enough confidence to say, I can go against the one. I know that might have sounded weird on the podcast, but when I say ones and threes, like first string, second string, third string, you want your third string to have the confidence that he can play in the first string, whether he can or not. I don't have the solution on how to make that confidence transfer, but I'm just talking now, just anecdotal. Like from my experience, I've always had the confidence that if I get beat, oh well, I'll shrug it off. I'll win next time. If I win, well, I thought I was going to win in the first place, so I'm not surprised. I'm not going to brag about it because I should have won. And if I lose, well, he was better than me that day, but I bet you I'll get him next time. And if I don't, I promise you give me 100 tries, I'm going to get him at least once. And I'm going to feel like, well, I should have got him once. And then I go about my business. So I'm even killed like that. But I know that for players from Europe coming from, especially now in 2022 when we're recording this, society tells you that you have to either be great or be nothing. You're either, the best or it's not worth doing. But there's a lot of middle ground in there where people can be competing and being better than some or being not as good as the best, but still, a top version. But I feel like a lot of players don't see it that way. They see it as either I'm really good or I suck. And it's up to you guys, not me, because, I'm not coaching or playing, but you guys who are actually actively coaching and playing these players throughout Europe to let them know that in-between area, that's where most of the players live. Like, just looking at who I'm talking to here, Durante, Justin, Adam, pretty good players. Could you be the best players in some leagues, some situation? Yeah. And then in other situations, I personally, have beaten Durante, so, that makes me better than him, just putting that out there. Just messing with Durante. He know what it is, and I'm going to hold that over him forever. Hold it over him forever. But that's the situation, The competition is what makes everyone better, and also competition is what breeds that culture. I know a few patches of players and groups where you have guys who are like, all right, we're going out to the field. I'm taking on the best receiver because I'm the best DB. Do you know the best receiver? Oh, yeah, that's my best friend. Hold on. So you telling me you and your best friend got to go against each other 2 or 3 times a week. So outside of football, y'all are either talking shit to each other or celebrating that you guys won a game together or something like that. That's what builds the culture. Like, it's great knowing that someone is your friend, your teammate, and your competition. That makes everything synchronized very smoothly, other than, okay, well, he's a high caliber player, I'm a low caliber player. He's a football player, but outside of football, we're not really friends. So then you have to mesh all that together. That just makes the coaches and other players' job harder. But if I go on a football team and I'm competing with anybody on my team, but also have the same respect for them that outside of it, we're all going to go have a beer or go hang out together. And also, if they need help, they know they can come to me for it. It makes the little things like, hey, we need to come and have an extra practice this week. Or, hey, you didn't come to practice. I, as a player, am going to hold you accountable and not wait for the coaches to tell you to bring your ass to practice. I can do that if I have the respect of that teammate. But it's different if that teammate sees me as somebody that they just see occasionally. And again, I got off on a tangent, but I feel like I hit it on the head what I wanted to talk about, which was bringing everyone together makes sports part of life instead of sports versus life. I never missed a sporting event for a birthday party because all my friends played sports. So if they had a birthday party, that meant nobody was playing sports. So we did the parties when we didn't have games. We didn't do weekend parties. We had them on Fridays. So I think that's all I got, honestly. Anything else? Y'all want to touch on anything? I feel like I finished it hard how I wanted to. So, and I'm just talking, fellas. I'm just talking, but I feel like
I think another thing though, we were talking about gaining the guys' confidence, and I think a lot of it too is it's the same problem as we have as Americans is giving each other our flowers.
Yes.
Giving each other flowers when needed. And it's the same out here in Europe. They don't give each other flowers either, but that's just their culture. But, we as Americans, I think it hits us a lot harder, not giving each other flowers. Not so much showing hate, just not giving flowers. And, I think coming from where we come from, giving, the Germans or the Swiss, Spain, wherever you are, feeling, giving them their flowers, being the import, being the big homie, the big brother per se, I think that builds them a lot way higher, and you showing them the route, kind of being like like a big brother and all that. So I think just giving people their flowers, giving them their flowers for sure.
Yeah, that's what's up. Giving them the flowers.
Until we in between them lines, you ass.
Right? Yeah. Some people, they gotta have that competitive edge to them. But again, like similar to what Adam said, though. Once you get off the field, you can talk to somebody and be like, hey, man, you did your thing out there. Even though I busted your ass, you did your thing. Or even though you busted my ass, which I've never had to say that, guys, because I don't get my ass busted. But you can still give flowers and you can receive them as well. And that I think you can do it without being a Russell Wilson type, if that makes any sense. You don't have to. You don't have to fake it. You can just say, hey, man, good game. Like, you did real good and walk off. You don't have to sit there and kiss their ass and be like, oh, you the best thing since sliced bread. Like, you can just tell somebody, hey, you did good. And you'll be surprised, like what Adam was saying about being an import. If you're talking to these domestic guys, a little bit goes a long way. Me personally, I'm not big into giving flowers, only because I'm more of the opposite. What is it called when you give like a backhand compliment? I tell people they're good, but just because I'm an asshole, it's not personal, and they know it's not personal. Durante knows it's not personal. It's just it is what I am. But also, most of the people that I give those type of compliments to, they know me and they understand that that's probably as good as you're gonna get from me. And I don't do that for everybody. Some people I'm just nice to because they suck, and I ain't gonna try to hurt their feelings. So I ain't ever gonna say nothing negative to them. If you ain't ever heard nothing negative from me, I probably don't think you're very good in the first place. So and that's just me talking about my situation and how you guys got to respond to me. Because if you don't know me yet, you're gonna get to know me, and that's how you're gonna respond to me. But also, you can just positively give those flowers. I think that's a really, really eye-opening idea because I feel like no one does that. More people are similar to what I do, or even worse, or they won't even like give the backhand compliment, just the backhand.
That compliment, even though I don't like to do it, I will give it, especially if it's deserved. That does go a long way, especially with the European players. Like, hey man, you did your thing out there today. Hey, oh yeah, thank you. And then they take that, they put that in the back of their mind, and all of a sudden, it can go one or two ways, but most of the time they're just trying to get better. Like, oh, such and such told me I did good today. All right, I need to go improve so I can even be better. So
that could be the difference.
It does go a long way.
That could be the difference in some players between them, quitting on the sport or becoming the best at their position or something. but I feel like we've talked enough of it. So let's wrap it up here. Just final thoughts on, we're talking football today, but a lot of what we said applies to sports in general. It's not just a game. And if anybody thinks that it is just a game, you can come see me and you can catch these hands. That's how important it is, because sports play more than just a role of a hobby in most people's lives, especially team sports, which is what we're really involved in. So you got to know that it's more than just a game, and there's different aspects to that. Like, we didn't really talk about the X's and O's because it's more than just a game. It's the stuff outside of it. What did we hit on today? We talked about, confidence, culture on the team, as well as, the actual team management and structure, those type of things. Giving flowers, which, building confidence even more. We talked about a lot of different things that you can take those 4 aspects and you can apply that to life. You can apply that to any aspect of life. And that's what sports gives you. It helps you in life. So when you're playing these sports, I don't care what sport it is. It could even be an individual sport. If you realize that it's more than just a game, that, me personally, what I really loved about playing American football was when I was in college, we had to do backward bear crawls up a inclined hill. And I remember a kid saying, "Why are we doing this?" And the strength and conditioning coach said, "'Cause we fucking can." And that was that. Like, not because it builds muscles or it's going to make you a great player or it's going to do that. No, because we can. And that's what sports is. Like, that's life lessons. Like, after that, I never had a complaint for the rest of my time playing sports in college, because I knew it really didn't matter. Whatever we were doing it because we could. There's other people that couldn't do it, and we're out here doing it. And that's what sports is you're doing something that most people can't do. So if you're doing that, you got to realize it's going to help you way more than just on the field or in the court or on the tennis match or whatever sport you're playing. It'll do a lot more for you by being committed to the sport that you're in now than if you were to take it so lightly in that hobby aspect that so many people are doing right now. So, final thoughts on the topic of today. It's not just a game. Durante, I'll let you go first.
Basically, sports, it just introduces adversity. Like, once you are in the thick of it, or in the weight room, or even the mental aspect of it, when you get to a point where it's just like, yo, I don't think I can do this no more, you can push through it. Because outside of it in life, you're going to run into things to where you're like, yo, I don't think I can do this. Then it hits you like, yo, I can do this. I can do anything. So, like, sports is just a way that translates into how you deal with life's problems and the adversity that comes from life. That's all I got with that.
What about you, Adam? Last words on the topic.
Last words. My last thoughts, I think, as far as with sports for life, I'll say definitely self-discipline. Like Durante said, having that will to do things, having that mental aspect to want to keep pushing forward. And, I think the biggest thing is handling success and failure. Being at the top and being at the low. Just like we said, consistency, wanting to go out there. It's not just a hobby.
What about you, Justin? What are your final thoughts?
My final thoughts is just at the end of the day, we can't play football forever. That's what a lot of people don't get in their head sometimes, at the fact that football is not going to be it for us forever. So I think I'll answer a quote in college. I'm not sure exactly if I'm going to say it word for word, but it's pretty much just like football. It's not life, but it's a game of life. It's pretty much saying like how football teaches us about life and things like that. So pretty much it's just like how football prepares us for life, and like everyone said, the adversity, the trust, and things like that. So that's my final thoughts on everything.
Yeah, I think we talked very well about the different aspects of the sport, and I appreciate you guys coming on and talking today. Anyone who's listening, I still haven't really formatted this podcast. We're mostly just open air talking about subjects, so I don't even have my outro set yet. But I can tell you this: we will see you or talk to you next time in the off season.